to one and all present here. On behalf of Entrepreneurship Development Cell of NIT Durgapur, we're elated to welcome you to a session unlike one we have ever had before. Today, we have here with us a personality that needs no introduction.
From being the first woman in India to join the office ranks of the Indian Police Service in 1972, and being the 24th Lieutenant Governor of Puducherry, to advocating on a multitude
On behalf of Team EDC, I, Anaga Nagarajan,
of causes as an activist and I, Shubhantika Bose,
the moderators for the session, extend a warm welcome to you, ma'am, and we're elated to have you with us here today evening. Dr. Bedi has left no stone unturned in inspiring generations, and one of the most noteworthy of these endeavors include her thought-provoking books on governance, leadership, and a variety of other areas.
We are honored to have this session with you, ma'am, discussing the essence of transformative leadership from your latest book, Fearless Governance. Without further ado, and with your permission, ma'am, we'd like to start the session.
Thank you. Let's begin. Let's begin. Do I begin?
Absolutely, ma'am.
Okay. Now I'm going to give you a demonstrative visual speaking lessons learned of leadership from here. Now, those leadership lessons which I will share with you through my 5 years of experience, written in this book, Fearless Governance, written. These all lessons like case study alive. Now, these leadership qualities are applicable to you even from now. But as IIT, as engineers in the making, as managers in the making, as corporate leaders in the making, as public servants in the making, because you are all now moving towards high-end careers. You are in high-end careers. You'll be at the top of the managerial and leadership levels. So I'm going to quickly show you a demonstrative learning. It's like leadership in action, as Indra Nui says. When she read the book, this is leadership in action. I'm going to start right away, and so that we have more time for a lot of Q&A. So watch this presentation. Go ahead. Now, first thing, always remember, please watch this very carefully, this presentation. As a Lieutenant Governor, I gave all the people of Puducherry, right from day one of my oath ceremony, a mission statement. We all need a purpose. Like, for instance, what is your mission statement? When we ask a boy or a young girl, what do you want to be? That's a mission statement. My purpose, what do I want to become? Right? So remember, all of you should have in your head, what do you want to become? And as a Lieutenant Governor, I shared with the people of Puducherry what I will do, what I want to become, Puducherry to become. So I gave them a mission statement. One of the first things I did, when you give a mission statement, you start the process. This was the process where I opened helplines for any problem, for any issues, like 1031s. Helplines, open helplines. So start implementing the mission statement. When you give a mission statement, it sets you on the journey. It's like buying a ticket. Now you got onto the train, and now you flag it green, and then you start. So you start the process of leaving the station. Now, when you start in a train, you start knowing your passengers. Who are your passengers who are close by? You want to spend time with them. So I start to know my passengers. All officers, by doing a SWOT analysis. Always remember, when you work, like for instance, in a class, you want to know who your friends are. So what are their strengths? Where they're coming from? What are their extra qualifications? So you start knowing them. Know your strengths, weaknesses, and threats and opportunities. But when you will become in the corporate world, you will need to know your team members' strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Always remember. I did this with my secretaries. I had to know them because I didn't know them. None of them had worked with me before. Now, the more you want to know as a leader from this book. Now, since this book has been shared with you from your institution, how do you know more? You start asking for presentations. Like you do presentations for your colleges, projects. I'd ask everybody to do presentations to tell me what the department was. So presentations back to back, using technology back to back, like you do WhatsApp for friends. I did WhatsApp for all secretaries and government servants to know what's going on and putting in for shared information. So use of technology, which you are all getting expert at. The most important communication strategy as a good practice Team Raj Nivas adopted was a WhatsApp group called Prosperous Puducherry. Team Raj Nivas was quick to grasp the potential. One of the most outstanding communication strategy which Team Raj Nivas adopted was creation of a WhatsApp group called Prosperous Puducherry. See, the fact is that we were quick to grasp the potential of social media to revolutionize communications within government and the community. Prosperous Puducherry comprises of all officers of all departments, ensuring instant responses to public grievances, often involving several departments. We encouraged all departments also to form similar in-house groups, such as police station group, women police group, traffic enforcement group, smart Bahud, women in administration, teachers group, Water Rich Puducherry, and many more. WhatsApp has promoted coordination within government with vastly better sharing of valuable public information such as press coverage, feedback, and issues requiring urgent attention. This mode of communication cuts across hierarchies, unites us in the purpose of serving the community. At least as important is the speed that it has lent to the government's work. Along with it, made it easy with real-time interface for our public. The most important communication strategy is from the very first few days of functioning here. The open house meant that Raj Nivas is open from Mondays to Wednesdays, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. religiously for anyone to raise a grievance on a first come first served basis. Each grievance received in open house, as well as from social media, emails, or even WhatsApp, is meticulously recorded and tracked for redressal. We have received so far a total of 31,000 petitions. From the very first few days, we continue to communicate with the people on all that we're doing. That's what you will, as leaders, well need to do. Develop the art of communication, skill of communication, how to address, what to say, how little to say, what tone to do, all that. Assertive communication is very, very important. Learning art of communication. Get constant reviews. During COVID, we used maximum technology, maximum web connection. Now, when you grow up as leaders, use town hall meetings, use these kinds of meeting together so that you listen to each other. Listening as leadership, because this is grooming leadership I'm talking about. I'm trying to groom you for ideas. So as leaders, never be afraid to connect with the people. People connect is very, very important. And then being visible, being on the round. Every weekend, by bicycle, bus, car, and even on foot, we as a team Raj Nivas and a few public officials went visiting locations where deficiencies had been reported. Such reports came to our open house, they came to our WhatsApp messages, they came through newspapers. This made us get out of our bed early and out of our comfort zones. These were the weekends. Every Saturday, every Sunday, we dedicated ourselves to field visits, which required attention. This is how we used to begin the day. It's like the principal's meeting with teachers. It's like the leader or the head of the department meeting with the key students union. So how you begin your day, these are practices which are very helpful from management point of view. This is another management practice which I thought you take along when you are a senior, work with your juniors on one-on-one basis. It's like a teacher-student relationship. It's like the principal-head HOD relationship. It's like the HOD and the junior professor relationship. Constantly do one-on-one. It's a very important one-on-one meetings. Another very good practice practiced at Rajnivas is the one-on-one meetings. Every weekday at 9 o'clock, I personally conducted one-on-one meetings with secretaries and department heads. This has been a game changer in improving and standardizing essential administrative practices. Through these meetings, I, as a Lieutenant Governor, help myself keep abreast with policies, petitions, spending, and training needs of the various departments. More than that, one-on-one meetings have allowed me to mentor officers, and by dispensing with hierarchy, clear channels of communications emerged. This has resulted in much better coordination, more responsive and timely delivery of services, and proactive policy and planning. As one officer at the closure of the mentoring said, "Madam, I rue the fact that we did not undergo this briefing during our induction. Had we gone through this learning process, it would have been of immense value." And then celebrate life. Keep celebrating life. Celebrate life. Okay? While Team Rajnivas enjoys working hard, we also care, meet, know, and share joy. With more than 14,000 citizens we did in the last 1,000 days. All celebrations have a meaning. Officers and workers from all sections of Puducherry's community joined in celebrating joy with one message: joyous Puducherry, prosperous Puducherry. Look for opportunities always to celebrate at workplaces, like you do in college. Always keep your documentation in place. We did. That's why the book could be written. Publications, documentation, making your folders is very vital. Use it. And that's how this book was formed. You see this book? I've all been given. Now listen to what she said.
My copy of the book in my iPad. My copy of the book in my iPad. I don't know if you can see it, but I've been reading it again last night. And I must say, I've been absolutely enamored with the book. First of all, it's a very easy read. It's not a laborious book that sort of puts you to sleep. It's written in a language and a style that, sort of bullet points, and quickly you can skim through it. Every chapter has lessons, takeaways. I found it very, very engaging. Now, you might wonder why a business executive or a retired business executive should be interested in a book about politics and managing a union territory. Let me be honest. I looked at this book as an example of CEOship in action, leadership in action. And basically what Kiran is saying is, whether you run a company or whether you run a union territory or a state or a country, there are some universal principles. Work for the people. Put them before you. Be visible. Make sure that you have accountability. Make sure that you are resilient. Make sure that you're honest. There's some universal principles that Kiran articulates throughout her entire book, notwithstanding a key message, which is be humble. Humility, sort of is a theme that goes through the whole book.
क्या pause क्यों किया? नहीं.
I'll be honest with you. The thing that bothered me the most reading the book was, here is somebody who's come from a region that she's, far away from Puducherry, comes to Puducherry, wants to do the right thing for the people at a time when that union territory needs help. Yet the political establishment gave her so much grief.
What is the next? Why are you going to stop share? Okay, good. Now we had the picture also, we don't have the visuals. Okay, I'm back to you, Ananta. I thought because many of your questions are linked with the book. So let them see the visuals and they can then relate the question with the book. Like you talking about silence, I'll be able to link it with the work culture. So go ahead,
Yes,
Ananta. I'm done with my
Yes,
basically an introduction to some work.
Yes, ma'am, that was a absolutely wonderful presentation, ma'am. And I absolutely agree with the review that ma'am said. It's a very easy read. Like when we read the book, when it is a book about politics, when it is a book about governance, people expect that you'll require a certain set of prerequisites or a certain set of knowledge to understand such a book. But it was very easy for us to understand. And I think that's why the first question that the people had from the college was related to the representation of the youth and the interns that you had mentioned in your book, ma'am. So the question exactly states, ma'am, your book, Fearless Governance, has an entire chapter dedicated to the contribution of interns and the youth who have worked under you. How important do you think the contribution of the youth is when it comes to critical work like administration and governance?
Thank you, Subantika. My answer to this is very simple. That is the reason the government of India is now mandating internships and apprenticeships. And recently I saw an announcement by the Education Minister of Government of India, 1 lakh jobs, 1 lakh posts being created of apprentices and internships. So that's why now you as management institutions, training institutions, technology institutions are looking for internships. The earlier you do, the better. And I would say the internship should begin from 12th standard onwards. In fact, you're going late. 11th standard onwards, when they do a hands-on. You see, you remember what you do. You don't remember what sometimes you hear. You remember what you see and remember what you do, rather than only when you hear. So if you want retention, then you hear, you see, and you do. You never forget. So internships and apprenticeships make you do. That's why internships is, and that's what we did. If Government of India had a policy that all management colleges will be linked with management departments of government, of the government of the state, things will be totally different. Like the public works department could have engineers. The education department could have teachers institution linked. Medical colleges could be linked with medical students, or medical hospitals could be linked with medical students. Am I right? Technology, computer class departments could be linked with technology students. See, they will see government at work. So what we did was we made interns look at government at work, and that too at Raj Bhavan at work. Through Raj Bhavan, they could see the other departments at work, so that they got an orientation of how government functions. That's why we did it. So there's a chapter on interns for those interested.
Yes, ma'am, that was such a wonderful answer, and definitely I think we need to look into it more, and we need to start working on our internship from 12th. As you said, we're a little late, but yes, at least the coming generation can go ahead with that. Yes. Following that, we have a second question for you, ma'am. Your book highly stresses on creating a sense of unity and familiarity among the people at work. What challenges did you face en route to reaching this goal? Do you think it's possible to have everyone work as one cohesive unit, or will it always be a utopian idea?
It will not be a utopian idea if the leader leads the way, goes the way, and shows the way. And not the leader orders, you go. No, we say we go. Or we say let's go. Moment you say let's go, it becomes a party. It becomes a picnic. It becomes joyous. But if you say you go, then he may go and he'll not put his heart and soul in it. So when we say, rather than say you go, we say we go. And we say let's go. That's why I showed you the film. when you've seen me cycling. You've seen me in a bus where we said, let's go, we go. And we made it as a picnic. But we were going for work, but we were having a lot of fun. So put joy at work by doing, let's go, we go. Okay? And it's possible
Absolutely.
only when you lead, not by ordering, by doing, by showing, by being a team member. Next one.
Absolutely, ma'am. And in follow-up to that question, we had a question regarding the phrase that you used, ma'am, we, not we. So the question goes along this line. Ma'am, your book, Fearless Governance, is about we, not me. So how do you want the people and their basic needs? How do you expect those to be served fearlessly along with bringing positive changes to the governance system that is presently in action?
If you see, Indira Nooyi on the release of the book said it's working for the people. You're working for the people. All people in government, like the head departments in education, are working for students. Similarly, people in public administration are working for people. Politicians are elected, they're working for people. So make people partners in decision. That's why you saw town hall meetings. You saw town hall, that is working with the people. You saw SWOT. SWOT meant, I want to know you. You saw presentations, you're working with people. So always collaborate. So working with people. That's how you make them into cohesive units. Always find opportunities. You saw entertainment. You saw Rajnivas entertainment. It's working with people. And also enjoying and celebrating with people.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely so true. That's really, really inspiring for us youth to, learn, and if people who are interested to get into the administrative field, tip that should really look up to. Following up, we have a question, ma'am. Ma'am, you've mentioned how a recipient has a choice to make his or her responses either mechanical or dynamic. Considering a dynamic response is another step in the sphere of transformative governance. How do you manage responses at such a large scale? Has there been any instance that has left you highly affected and benefit of words?
Which is your question number?
Fifth one, ma'am.
Which is the question number?
Fifth one.
Sixth?
Fifth one, ma'am.
Fifth? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the fifth one. You've skipped the fourth, is it? And you skipped the third.
No, ma'am, we're just going in order to the talk and how it's proceeding.
Okay, so always mention the question number because maybe I've got the serial outdated.
Absolutely, surely.
I'm reading your question also so that I can get the words right. So your question number is?
Ma'am, presently we've asked question number 5 because it seems like more of a follow-up to the previous answer. So we will proceed in that manner, but from now on, ma'am, we'll proceed serially.
So now question number?
5, ma'am.
And it's written, ma'am, you mentioned how a recipient has the choice to make his or her response. Is that the one? Or how did your morning nutrition, or how do you tend to counterbalance? Or
no,
how you
the fifth one, ma'am. You have mentioned how a recipient has the choice to make his or her responses. That question.
Okay, that's question number 5.
Yes, ma'am.
According to my list, it's question number 5. Is it according to your list also?
Yes, ma'am. That is fifth on our track.
Good, lovely. Now we are on the same page. You mentioned recipient has a choice to make his or responses either mechanical. Yes. Considering a dynamic response is another step in the sphere of transformative. How do you manage responses at such a large scale? Has there been any instance that has left you highly affected and bereft of words? You mentioned how recipient has the choice to make. Of course. Angad, come on the page, come on your camera, please. Switch on your camera because I'm doing an eye contact. Yeah, Sibantika, please switch on your cameras. I'm doing an eye contact.
Yes, ma'am.
Otherwise, I speak to a blank screen.
No. Zero, yes, ma'am. We all have our cameras.
Because I'm watching you and talk as if I'm in person with you. both for Sibantik also. Could you please all switch on your cameras, friends? I'm wanting to see your faces. I'm not looking at whether you combed your hair or not. Doesn't matter. Please switch on your cameras so that I don't speak to blank screens. Please switch on your cameras. Your mics are anyway switched off, so you can switch on your cameras. This enables me to see whether you're participating and listening to me, and not that I'm talking to a blank wall. I don't want to talk to a blank wall. I want to talk to you. Could you please switch on your cameras if you're present? Yeah, I want to give you 5 minutes. Switch on your cameras. I want to see how many cameras are on. That means you're present. Otherwise, you're not present. You've switched it on and gone to bed. Yeah, please switch on your cameras. That enables me to see who. Sayan Das is walking around, I think. Sayan, are you walking? Your camera switch, your mic is off, doesn't matter. Please switch on your mics. Sorry, not mics, sorry, your cameras. Please switch on your cameras. I'll answer your questions if I see maximum cameras switched on. I'm not going to speak to blank screens. Your and my time is precious. I want to reach out and connect with you through eye contact. Because this way, I know you're listening to me. So go to the next screen. Yeah, this screen. Yeah, please switch on your cameras. Ishi, Kritika, Sayan Das. Please switch on your cameras. Prateek, Satvik, Purab, Ronak Sarkar, Subhav, PB. Please switch on your cameras. Please switch on your cameras. Could the faculty please see who's not switching on cameras and why not?
Absolutely, ma'am. We've sent in a message to all of the participants to switch.
Yeah. Please switch on your cameras. I want to see you. You're looking good. Don't worry. It's good manners when you have a speaker that you switch on your cameras. It's good manners. I can also speak to you without the camera on. Will it be good manners? I can switch off and you can hear me, but that will not be good manners. Priyash Mukherjee, Sahana, Zeba Haq, Sanvi, Prateek Kumar, please switch on your cameras. Vidang, Shubham, Shruti, Prateek Kumar, could you please switch on your cameras? It's good manners. Supposing you were addressing audience, what would you want? Blank screens, or would you want to look at the camera and watch and enjoy and smile? So could you all please give me a smile? Could you all give me a smile? Yeah, lovely. Now let me see the next screen. Can I have a smile, please? Yeah, that makes it good. You see, it makes it all enjoyable. Prince, Anand, Matwi, Prateek, I'm marking those of you not switched on your camera absent. Anshu, that's good. Mantvita, Sanvi, Shruti, Shubham, Ronak Sarkar, Subhadeep Paul, Manshi Singh, could you please switch on your cameras? And remember always to keep your cameras on when you get a speaker who is tight on time. I have a lot of energy giving. This is my energy transfer. So switch on your cameras, Ronak Sarkar, Shubham, Adarsh, Siddharth, Saurabh Mahanta, Shelly. You know, there's no point just saying I'm present. You're not present. You are absent. Actually, you are absent. You've just marked yourself on camera saying you're just using technology to show you're present. You're actually shamming. Mohammad Manzir Alam, could you please switch on? Rajiv Kumar Mukchund, Rajiv Kumar, Mohammad Manzir, Mahi, Samarth, Satyam, you're not present. So actually, don't tell me so many 102 participants. Actually, you are only 50 because 102 participants it shows. But actually, those of us who are on camera are only present. Others are not. Others have just switched on, showing the name and walked away. That's not right, friends. I had already requested the organizers to tell you people to keep your cameras on. You are showing 103 participants. But I can count you. I think you're probably less than 50 who are actually participating. Show the next screen. Yeah, let's move the next screen. Yeah, these are not present. Most of them are not present. The next screen. Just show me another screen. Okay, there are two screens. So half of you are present. Okay, just a moment. I will shoot them and I will send you the screens when they were not present. I will post this on your. I'm shooting you to tell you who were not present. Okay, these are present. Shoot the next screen. They are present. Let's go next. These are not present. Is that the wrong thing? Now I have the list. I will send to the organizers whose cameras were switched off. And I have the names. Go back. These are those present, not present. These are those present. So that basically means despite the request, they're not present. So go to the next screen. Next, second screen and third screen. This is not present. Okay, good. All right, so you're marked absent, those of you who could not switch on your cameras. And I will put it on, send it to Savantika and your team who invited me to share and circulate in your WhatsApp groups, those who walked away after switching on the camera. Is that the right thing to do, friends? Is that the right thing to do, Savantika?
Absolutely not, ma'am. If there are any people out there with network issues, we'll look into that, ma'am, and we'll make sure that the same is communicated.
Yeah. Well, if there's a network issue, they could put it in the chat box saying, I'm having a network issue.
All right. We're receiving certain messages on our part. So we'll just make a note of all of that and we'll circulate that as well, ma'am.
Yeah, please do. And also, it should be not done for the next speaker, whomever the Anugita. See, this is leadership all about. It's very, very important what you learn at this stage. It's being respectful. Otherwise, nothing stops you from just switching off. Don't even be there. Don't even be there. There's no compulsion. Is this a compulsion, Savantika? Is it a compulsion?
Absolutely not, ma'am. It's not a compulsion. It's an honor.
So therefore, when it's an honor, then be there. Okay, let's go to the next question. Thank you so much for bearing with me. You see, please understand, I'm here to give you whatever I learn. These are lessons of my life. I'm giving you lessons of my life. I am 72 years old. You must be only 20, 21, 19, 20. I'm giving you lessons of my life. In a way so that it makes a difference for you. You remember that these are qualities which will make you successful. After a while, you're listening to me. If I was a failure in my life, you won't be listening to me. If you think I've not been a failure, I've been contributing to society, that's why you're listening to me. And what has contributed, helped me contribute is being respectful, being grateful, being gratitude, and being listening, willing to learn. All of you are going to make good managers and leaders of tomorrow and in different fields of life. Okay, next question. Now, you said recipient has a choice to make her responses mechanical. Yeah. Consider dynamic response another step in this sphere. So how do you manage response in such a, has there been any instance that left you highly affected? Look, I have, as far as responses is concerned, everybody is different. Everybody looks at things in their own way. I respect that. So best part for a leader is to listen. And once you listen, then if it's a good idea, take it. If it's not a good idea, explain it. If it's not a possible position to explain it, move on with what you have, because that's your responsibility as an administrator. Okay, next question.
Sure, ma'am. Along the same line, ma'am, when you've mentioned that people actually do need to fight for their interests in the most respectful manner possible, the next question follows along the line. You have fought against vested interests and have helped in establishing a cap on the fees for deserving students to get medical seats. What makes your connect so strong with the students and the general public? And is there any particular incident that makes this strong connection serve better?
I've been a people's person from childhood. I was an NCC cadet, a volunteer at Red Cross at the age of 13. When we had the Indo-Pak War in Amritsar, I worked as a volunteer in the Red Cross. So I was a people-oriented, very people-oriented. So, and actually nurtured. It was a nurtured people orientation from home, being of help to people. So I think by nature, I was very helpful. I grew up being of value to others. So when you are in power, but you have the spirit of being of value to others, you are doubly powerful because you're people oriented. Now you have the power to correct. You have the power to serve. And you have the power to get things done. You see that? So the power and the spirit go hand in hand. That is why at an early age, if you acquire the love for people or willingness or spirit of service, you get into a position to give. You are a giver. You are a better human being. You are more generous. You serve more because it was inherited in you. You grew up, you are growing up with a sense of service to humanity, service to mankind, or service to fellow citizens. That's who I was. Next question.
That was definitely a wonderful answer, ma'am. Definitely inspiring as well. Following up, we have another question. Is considering your outstanding valor and performance during the days of your training and in the academy, I wanted to know what was the thought process that occupied you during those days? Was it your natural game and you enjoyed it, or did you take it as an opportunity to prove yourself in a male-centered society?
No, it was a natural game. If it was not a natural game, because Indian Police Service was my first preference. For me, it was a natural game. Had it not been a natural game, I would have never probably opted for the Indian Police Service. It had to be natural. I think the lesson to be learned is if you are in your natural game, you are all life never feeling as if you worked extra. You enjoy your work because you are in your natural game. If you are a natural doctor, you'll never complain of extra cases, right? You will, if you're a natural doctor, you'll never say, if you're a natural soldier, you'll never complain of not having had enough time back home or the extra hard work. So you have to be, ideally would be to be natural at work and not be a square in a round in a round in a square. Be a round in a round. So must know what are you natural at. At this age, I'm sure all of them who've chosen this path took this tough examination to be in Durgapur institution. I think it's nothing but natural. They have to be natural. So if you've chosen NIT through an examination, you have to be natural. So, and even after this, even in NIT, choose your natural profession. Don't choose this will give me more money or this will give me more name. Choose what you naturally like. You will certainly make money and you certainly make name. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for that answer. I cannot begin to tell you how many students need to hear that, ma'am. So moving ahead, our next question. So
to answer for this is, Bontika, is to sit quietly, ask yourself, what is my natural way? What is my natural way? Because you are going to live it rest of your life. And if you don't enjoy your work, you'll be always sulking and you'll be stressed out. But if you like your work, you'll enjoy your work and you'll never be stressed out. You'll remain healthy for the rest of your life. So remember that. I work 24/7 in policing as a woman, as a mother. I work 24/7. Until not one day have I complained, where the hell am I? Not one day. Because it was natural. Okay, I had vested interests, I had conflicts, I had challenges, but not one day saying, what the hell? And not one day complain, why am I not on leave? And I'd run away. No. Well, it can be 1% time in life, it can come, but not 99% times. See, so remember that. Okay, next question.
Of course, ma'am. Along the lines of valor and fearlessness, here we have a question which questions that itself. So it goes along the lines of, ma'am, you have explained how to serve fearlessly, but ma'am, the risk taken by the person with power should be calculative and thinking of the long term. Can you elaborate what are the factors that this person should keep in mind so that he or she can execute his vision in the real world?
Never ever forget the purpose for which you are there. Your priority purpose. Never deviate from the priority purpose. As an administrator, as a public servant, your first priority is towards the people. All finances must be spent for the people. All policies must be taken for the good of the larger good. So it's a larger good democracy and not the vested interest. So if you keep it's long term, it's short term. It's not you first, it's people first. So if you are a people person, it's like a product first, but product has to be high. Your workers first, you last. What happened in COVID? The message was don't lay off people. Don't lay off people. Look after them. Empathy was a message constantly being given to corporates and trainees and employers. Do not lay off people. Empathy was number one call, clarion call to all from the government. No laying off, because you needed to take care of them. So it's people first, care first, empathy first, not profit. But when you took care of the people, profit happened. In my NGO, we did not lay off anybody during COVID. And NGO, remember, NGO is non-profit. But many donors continued to serve, give us the grant to the foundation. They did not stop the grant. And we also did not lay off anybody. So our people were working from home by the webinars. Some were even doing distribution of medicines, sanitizers, masks as workers in the field by masking them double on their face twice and with gloves. So with gloves on, with masks on, they continue to serve. So what I'm saying here is that it's important that you do short term and long term. But people first is your goal, not you. It's people for the purpose you are. Next.
Yes, ma'am. That truly marks what leadership is actually inspired a lot. On the same lines, we would like to ask, there is an excerpt from your book where you say, I am not here to clean filth. If we want to make Puducherry clean, then it must be us, not me alone. It is so extraordinarily rare and fearless for a person to be willing to leave a position of power for a greater cause. How would you encourage others to have the guts to pursue such selfless transformational leadership?
Grow. It all depends how you grow, how you bring up yourself, how confident you are, how courageous you are, how internally secure you feel about yourself, and that you are in a way, have you groomed yourself to say, I can do anything to survive for myself. Dignity is more important. My sense of self-respect is more important. I think that's what matters. How important is you to yourself? That only you can take fearless decisions. How important are you to yourself? And not to be enslaved to a situation. So I could dare say this, but I challenged them to clean up the city, threatening them, you better clean up. So it was a challenging way of making people, challenging people. So it was a motherly way of challenging. मैं जा रही हूँ, I'm going, नहीं करोगे तो मैं जा रही हूँ. See? So then say, no, नहीं जाओ नहीं, हम करेंगे. So it was a challenge. Understand? But you don't say मैं नहीं करूंगी, मैं करूंगी, but मैं जा रही हूँ, तुम नहीं करोगे, मैं जा रही हूँ. So then say, no, हम सब करेंगे. So it was like challenging people. Sometimes you need that form of communication. Like the teacher says, I'm leaving the class, you're not doing it. You see, I'm challenging you to switch on your cameras. Am I? But I'm not saying मैं जा रही हूँ. I'm sticking on, but what did I do? I took a picture. And I'm going to share with you the picture. Please circulate the picture to all the group members who were not switching on the cameras. Circulate it. It's important. You have WhatsApp group of students? Angad?
Yes, ma'am.
Anaga? Please circulate this. Please circulate this picture in all your WhatsApp groups who only switched on the camera for the names. Sorry, who were only present for namesake, not for listening. Carry on.
Yes, ma'am. Along the lines of transformative leadership and symbolic gestures, the next question asks, ma'am, I wanted to ask you about your motivations behind banning the VIP sirens on cars. We know that you didn't like the noise of the siren and had it removed, but removing the siren was a symbolic gesture towards transformations you wanted to bring to the prevailing governance system. Can you elaborate on your motivations at that time? And what outcomes did that gesture have for you at that time?
Removal of the siren was a motivation to connect with the people and respect the space of the people, and not to blur and break their eardrums. I didn't like it. It was respect and respecting the space of the people. That was the motivation. Next one.
Yes, ma'am. That was something really unique in the book that we read. You have mentioned the poor condition of government schools and the steps which you did take to improve their conditions. But still, there are many villages in our country where the condition of government schools is miserable. How effectively do you think the government is working to cater to this problem? If not, what measures should the government take to improve the functionality of all government schools in the country?
This is a leadership issue. And that's very relevant to all of you youngsters listening to me. If Education Secretary as a leader, Inspector of Schools as a leader, Deputy Secretary as a leader, Director of Schools as a leader, if they would be visiting schools every morning, will the schools remain dirty? No, never. That is what leadership is for. This is a failure of leadership. When the offices are dirty, schools are dirty, dispensaries are dirty, or streets are dirty, parks are dirty, it's a failure of leadership. Because they're not inspecting, they're not watching, they're not walking the streets. So this is an indication. You have a factory, you're a factory owner. If you don't visit your factory, it will be dirty. So if you visit your factory on a regular basis, people will be looked after. Your premises will be clean. So it depends on, it will be orderly. Your staff will respect you. But if you're an absentee leader, it's like the vice chancellor. It's like the principal of a school. If he just sits only in the chair of the office and doesn't visit the classes, teachers may teach, may not teach well. But if he goes around class-wise, children and everybody will love that. I have worked as a lecturer. And I have also been a joint commissioner training in Delhi Police. Many times I used to go and sit on the last bench of a class which was going on by an inspector. I used to sit on the last bench, listen to what he's doing, what he's saying. The class quality improved considerably. So always remember that be visible, be on the ground, be feet on ground, feet on ground. So visit and know and feel. Okay, next question.
Yes, ma'am. Moving on to the 13th question, given that we have asked the 12th question previously, I present to you. The question goes along this line. Presently, there is a hardwired mentality in seniors about this new transformation of everything in computer-based mediated communication. It has opened new ways to connect in a manner in which seniors were not oriented. So what are your plans to make it easier for seniors to accept this new phase?
But they don't have a choice. There's a mass training going on public servants. And now even constabulary has now saying computer pass only will be essential course. Rather than training later, every constable, and that means now they're making computer knowledge, practice of computer knowledge and a computer degree basics in all basic recruitments, because everything going to be data driven and moving towards gradually paperless work. So they are changing the way you recruit, but also upskilling and training those people who are above that generation.
Yes, ma'am. So on the same lines of communication, moving ahead with our question, number 14, in instances mentioned in your book, you have illuminated the hurdles of intra-departmental communications. This leads to a graver question and points to the urgent requirement of transformational and fearless leadership. How can inter and intra-departmental communications be improved to ensure seamless and effective administration?
I showed you some of the methods I did in my presentation. You can download that presentation and share it widely. How did I bring departments together? And WhatsApp group, social media was a very important thing. And also 101. Remember, I showed you the 101s? One-on-one basis. And I also showed you group learning in a bus, going in group learning in a bus. Yes. I also showed you biking, all departments concerned together. When you go by bus, or you on the WhatsApp, or you cycle together, or you do morning weekend round. I showed you where we got up at 6 in the morning and went every Saturday. It's all exactly going to a situation which has interdepartment needs. So we used to bring people together on the ground to see the problem together. Carry on. Next one.
Absolutely, ma'am. And the question that follows right now has also been answered via your presentation, ma'am. But I'll add a bit to it and I'll present it a bit differently. In your time as Lieutenant Governor, ma'am, you used to conduct daily 10 a.m. meetings with your core team. Now, we as students know that even the slightest of positive changes in one schedule can make a world of difference in the long run. So I wanted to ask you about how this change was a transformative experience for your team and what were its merits. And in addition, from Team EDC, ma'am, I'd also like to know why specifically 10 a.m., why in the morning and not why in the end of the day when all of the work has been done.
The morning sets the tone. And end of the day is you oversleep and then go back, and a lot can happen during the night as well. So if you set the tone, you've known what happened last night and you're setting the tone. And you're putting it on gear. It's like everybody's getting into the car and starting the drive. So everybody's into gear 1, then you change your gears in as you go. So it's good to get into the vehicle in the morning itself rather than at night, then you're running into the night. So then morning time is a good time to set the tone. Okay? And regarding the positive changes, as you mentioned, what did this change? What did you say? Second question, as I explained, morning is a good time. Yeah.
The question specifically said how this change was a transformative experience for you and your team, and how we as students can relate to how the smallest of positive changes can make a very big change in the long run.
Look, when you look for a new idea, it sometimes disturbs others. It takes you out of, as it's commonly called, comfort zone. But once you start practicing it, it helps you. So every change is not necessarily comfortable for some, and for some it's perfect. So, but it's a change for the good. Then it's like a habit. If you are into a habit of drinking too much of coffee, or you have a habit of smoking, or you're in the habit of overeating, you start working that once you know that this is not a good thing, you start changing the habit bit by bit and change it and work towards it. Initially, it will give you withdrawal symptoms, or it will make you uncomfortable, but in the end, make you a better person. But without that change, you cannot achieve that. But once you've determined, similarly as a leader, for me to setting the tone at the 10 a.m. and bringing everybody out, it was not comfortable for many because some were used to coming late. But once they set the tone and they realized they were benefiting, etc. Number 3, if it's not comfortable for some, then as an administrator, I have to put my foot down to say, this is what I want. So sometimes those who are unwilling have to fall in line. Otherwise, they're out of the service. They're out. So that's where you as a leader has to perform. So you can give people a chance to change. And those who don't, there are chapters in the book where the chief secretary refused to change. And I had to remove him. There's a chapter in the book called the chief secretary who was a saboteur. And a new chief secretary was brought in. There's a chapter of the chief secretary, the saboteur. And there's a chief secretary, the facilitator. Read that chapter. It will help you. So as a leader, you have to exercise those leadership decisions. Sibantika? Yeah. Next.
Yes, ma'am. That was very rightly said. Ma'am, you have mentioned many times that you were not a teacher, rather a threat to the locals, their common enemy, and a case where they were dependent on transactions for every act of theirs. So, could you elaborate a little on how you dealt with this kind of situation where people were envious of your goodwill and how you kept every act of yours transformative?
Well, let me tell you, I was a threat to the vested interest, which always happens. Either you pamper vested interest and get afraid of them, and they'll rule the. It's like in Tihar jail when I was IG prison. There was a gangster, there was a gang group, organized crime, organized crimes. Now, either you let the organized crime thrive or you look after the rest of the prisoners. Because this organized crime was multiplying and recruiting simple prisoners to become gangsters. So what did I do? I isolated them and separated the gangsters from the normal prisoners. How? By isolating them into isolated cells. Okay? When I isolated them, they went to the court and challenged it before High Court that there's a violation of human rights for them because I've separated them. The High Court upheld my decision, saying, yes, IG prison has the discretion to separate the dirt from the cleanliness areas. So this is what happened. As a leader, you have to take risks and save the rest. So vested interest in as a Lieutenant Governor also had to be separately dealt with for the larger good of the people. The few vested interests who were corrupt or who were land grabbing or who were rowdies and threatening people to extort money, you have to separate them. You have to deal with them because they are a threat to the people. That's when the leadership matters. That's what called courageous leadership, when it deals with those people who are scaring the others. But you don't get scared by them. You deal with them. You are empowered by state power to do that. Right? Yeah. It's like the terrorists. Either the terror gets you or you get to the terrorist. And if you're afraid of the terrorist, they will rule the roost. But if you get after them one by one, administration, the rule of law prevails. Right? Next one. Now, it's already 6:30. How many more questions do you want, Ananga?
Yes, ma'am. I guess we can go for another 2 or 3 questions because it's going towards a very interesting conversation. If it is okay with you, ma'am.
All right, let's make it the last 3.
Okay, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Sure.
Along the lines of what we were just discussing, there is a very interesting question, ma'am, coming up. And it says, transparency has historically not been an attribute of governance in India. Bureaucracy has always had its insiders and outsiders. So how would transformational leadership change the system?
Which is this question number?
This is question number 17.
Yeah, historically been. Yes, that's right. That is why we brought to the Right to Information Act to provide information by right. But that doesn't help because many right to information, the departments are not updated on their websites when they should be volunteering to inform people of the latest policies. So many of them, and they're not accountable. If their website is not up to date, nobody questions them and punishes them or reprimands them. I've seen this, right? So that's when the leadership is. I used to look at the updating of the websites of all departments to see whether they're updated, and yet many of them were very sluggish. They were laggards. They were not concerned. They were not worried. So when, as a leader, you make them accountable, and over a period, it helps them. But most of them would avoid giving information if they have a choice, because that's their culture so far. Now that culture is gradually changing, and they are under more greater watch. But as I said, it all depends on the kind of leadership they are under at the time to time. Some develop their own work culture of opaqueness, and some develop the work culture of transparency. But as an organizational culture, leader has to drive the change and then persist with it, persevere with it, and make them accountable, name and shame them. Right?
Next. Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. On the same lines, moving ahead to the question number 18. Ma'am, in the book, you have mentioned that you always believe that all the public institutions like Rajnivas should prioritize people, and that was quite evident. Can you tell us a little about what were the difficulties you faced while implementing it in your governance, and how did you overcome it?
I didn't face difficulties. I faced opposition initially by the political class because they didn't expect the LG's office to steal the show and becoming a people person. They thought people person was only their right and they could do selectively. See, this is what their culture was. But I became a people person. It did affect their monopoly. It actually broke their monopoly. So initially, it broke their monopoly and they were resistant. And sometimes they even opposed my traveling out into the local areas. And they even tried to gherao me. And this had even opposition and they were blocking me to go back. And I would not. I would persist. I would do what I thought was right to do. It was my right to do the way I was. So I continued to exercise my right. Initially, there was an opposition. There were dharnas, there were agitations, they were surrounding Rajnivas. These are all chapters in the book when they geraud me. But when I persisted, I gained my ground. Had I got afraid and had I surrendered, I would have got locked up only as a ceremonial lieutenant governor, not as an administrator. So as a leader, as a leader, you have to see what is right for your administration. What is right? And then you take your risks and you find your own ways of continuing to dare. It's like dare. You continue to dare. I continue to dare them.
Absolutely, ma'am. That is really wonderful.
Then we make it the last question. Now the last question.
Yes, ma'am. We have the last question here, ma'am. This is the 23rd question, which states, ma'am, your book gives us a clear insight into how an ideal governing body should work. Can you discuss some more on qualities which you think should be a must-have for all present-day civil servants, be it the balance between exertion of authority or serving the public?
I've written in the page 5 major takeaways for all public servants. There's a page in the book called the summing up. It's called the sum up for the public servants. And the top of the sum up is visibility. All public servants must become visible in their performance. They are not intelligence agents. They are summing up. In fact, this is the page 354 of the book. It's called the summing up. It's called the sum up. It's a sum up. So if you read these, then there's one page only, and it says the sum up. And in this, this is a yellow portion, a little. These are 5 points. Number 1, first point is visibility, accessibility. Secondly, third is don't get pressured. Because if you break the rules to oblige once, then you will be told, tumne to abhi to kiya tha, abhi bhi kar do. And find solutions and be ready to move. So you are a problem solver and not a problem leaver. Because if you leave the problems as they are, then you are a part of the problem yourself. So I've written 5 summing up. There are many, but I've given the 5 key takeaways. But major is that you start your day not from the office, start your day from the field. If you're a collector, start your day from the field. If you're a municipal commissioner, start from the day in the field. If you're a chief secretary, begin with any one department. If you're an education secretary, start your day from a school. If you're a health secretary, start your day from a dispensary. If you're an industry secretary, visit any one industry every morning. Once you start doing that, every area gets benefited. Every area of administration gets benefited. If you're a PWD secretary, start with any one project review every day. Any one. You see that? If you're an agriculture secretary, go to the field and see what's happening in different fields. Work with farmers and look at what the farmers are doing. Every department has field. That's why it's called public administration, not called private. It's not intelligence bureau. Even IB people are incognito moving the streets to collect information. If they will sit in the office, when they get any information, they walk the streets, but they walk incognito. But you work visibly to see and feel and hear and talk and interact and learn and correct. Right?
Absolutely, ma'am. Ma'am, we'd like to thank you for such a wonderful session, starting from the presentation to all of the answers to the questions that the students have presented. We have truly found a linear connection between how a government runs and how a student is supposed to transform their life in order to make the best of their careers. So for that kind of advice, for that kind of guidance, ma'am, we are very highly indebted to you. Team EDC thanks you for your presence here at ESUMMIT, ma'am. We could not have imagined a better session. Thank you so very much, ma'am.
I want to thank you. Better late than never. We got delayed, but I'm happy that I could reconnect with you and we finally made it. But please request my student colleagues here that they must be dignified, that if they're there. Otherwise, don't leave your name behind. It's not good for the speakers you invite. It's not good manners. Those who are not present, please go home. You don't have to show. And I'll share with you the photo who were absentees. Please circulate my request with the rest of your WhatsApp groups if you have.
Yes, ma'am. We'll definitely. Absolutely, ma'am. We'll surely.
I want to thank you for this opportunity that you made me connect with the students. I wish you all the very best. And the country has very high hopes from all of you to make it good, make the difference, and be the change makers and the drivers and transformers in anywhere you go, be it public or private sector.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. It was definitely an insightful session.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Welcome once again to all of the members in this meeting. With 4 days of intense competition, fruitful discussions, and informative and groundbreaking sessions, ESUMMIT 2022 is nearing its end. We have had the incredible opportunity to host a multitude of speakers this year, and we couldn't be more grateful to them for taking time out of their schedules in order to interact with the youthful audience of ESUMMIT. We are also greatly indebted to our incredible sponsors because the support that they've provided us has been absolutely wonderful. With that, I would like to invite our President, Amit Bose, to deliver the final keynote and declare ESUMMIT 2022 closed.
Thank you, Suvantika. Good evening to you all. It has been a roller coaster weekend, a weekend of magnificence and grandeur. But sadly, like all good things, this has come to an end too. We thank you all for your amazing participation and enthusiasm throughout all of it, from jaw-dropping moments of awe to moments of sheer excitement that had us on the edge of our seats. We are immensely happy to admit that this ESUMMIT has hosted an even larger crowd as compared to last year, and with each passing ESUMMIT, we only aim to climb higher and higher to our limits, be it with increased participants from all over India or by introducing newer events. And we are especially proud to have had the opportunity to host the highly decorated Dr. Kiran Bedi and many more highly esteemed guests. I thank the entirety of Team ADC and our respected faculty advisors for their immeasurable hard work and cooperation. To every member of the club, I raise my glass in appreciation. ESUMMIT in all its glory couldn't have been possible without all of you. With this, I officially declare ESUMMIT 2022 closed. Have a great day. Bye-bye.